When the earth cracked open at my daughter's grave, the name on the tag wasn't hers. I didn't scream. I took a photo, sealed it in an envelope, and drove straight to the courthouse. That was the day my grief turned into evidence. The truth was only beginning to rise. Before I begin the story, tell me, where are you listening from today? My name is Marjorie Delane. I'm 67 years old, a widowed nurse who still folds her laundry on Sundays and keeps every bill in a neat manila folder. Nights in Augusta settle heavy. The air smells of magnolia and dust. The TV hums in the background, its light flickering across my daughter's photograph on the mantel. I mute the news, some story about hospital mergers, and pour the last of my chamomile tea. My body follows its own rhythm. Check the door lock, line up tomorrow's pills, whisper a prayer. I don't frighten easy. I face storms, loss, and long ICU nights where machines outnumbered hope. Still, when I look at Aurora's smiling picture, I feel that hollow tug beneath my ribs. People fade, but paper doesn't. I keep her birth certificate folded inside a Bible, because ink, unlike memory, doesn't forget. At 2:47 a.m., my phone lit up on the side table. I didn't need glasses to read the name, E.A. Delane. My hand froze midair. That number had been disconnected 25 years ago. The hum of the old AC turned sharp, like a wasp trapped in a jar. I pressed the green icon before a logic caught up. Hello? My voice came out steady, though my knees trembled. A breath crackled on the line, then a whisper, young, soft, and far away. Mom, it's cold, but where am I? Every cell in me turned cold. Baby. Say your name. Static hissed, followed by a sharp inhale. And then, silence. I tapped the screen again. Number not in service, said the automated voice. Years of nursing habits clicked in. I hit record before the memory could blur. I took a photo of the call log, labeled it EAD 2:47 a.m., slid the phone into a zip bag like evidence. People lie, but data doesn't. My heart wanted to collapse into the old recliner, but the part of me that raised a child alone said, stand up. I checked the porch camera. Empty yard, no prankster. I replayed the voicemail, listened for breath or echo. I could almost hear her saying, don't hang up. At dawn, I brewed coffee strong enough to wake judgment itself. I left a message for Ellis Monroe, my late husband's friend who once handled data subpoenas. Ellis, I need your brain on something. Call me, not text. My purse waited by the door with my license, church bulletin, and Aurora's death certificate. I tucked in the phone and drove towards Serenity Memorial Hospital, the same place that signed my daughter's final paperwork. The lobby smelled of disinfectant and burnt coffee. A young clerk behind plexiglass smiled without seeing me. How can I help you? She said. I showed her my ID and the certificate. I need to review archival records for my daughter, Aurora Delane. Her fingers clicked across the keyboard, then stopped. No such record in our database. My breath steadied. Then check the mortuary log, I said. She called a supervisor who repeated the same line, too quickly, like a rehearsed excuse. I asked for a written denial. She blinked. We don't do that. You do today, I said, pulling out my notepad. Please sign and date that you told me no record exists. The supervisor's smile wilted. Ma'am, maybe you should speak to administration. I will, I said. But first, give me your name for my notes. She refused. I noted the time. 8:27 a.m. Temperature 78. Front desk plaque polished to a shine. My voice stayed low, steady. If a file disappears, someone's fingerprints remain. Outside, I sat on a bench beneath a dying magnolia and dictated everything into my recorder. Names, time, denial, lack of case number. My hand didn't shake. I called Ellis again. "Bring your clearance brain," I said. "The paper trail starts cold." He chuckled softly. "You always did keep receipts." When I looked up, the hospital's lobby TV was replaying that merger headline. The logo, Serenity Health Systems, scrolled beside the name Dr. Isolde Crane. I wrote it down without letting my face move. My daughter's number wasn't the only thing resurrected last night. "If my girl didn't vanish," I whispered, "someone erased her." By noon, the Georgia sun was heavy enough to press against my back as I parked by the cracked brick wall of old Augusta Cemetery. The air shimmered over the rutted lane, thick with the scent of cut grass and iron. "All right now, Marjorie, keep your head," I murmured, stepping out with my tote. Inside were folders, a copy of Aurora's death certificate, and the church bulletin where I'd scribbled notes. I wasn't here to mourn. I was here to verify. Folks lie. Paper doesn't. I paused by the veterans section and straightened a tilted flag, habit from years of tending to the forgotten. Roque sat at the far edge, shaded by drooping moss. I opened my phone's notes app, started a log, time-stamped it, and snapped photos of every marker along the path. Before facing her stone, I sat under a live oak to replay the voice memo from last night. I needed to hear it again, to prove it wasn't a dream. The thumbnail appeared, but when I tapped it, the screen flashed. "File cannot be played." I tried twice more. Same error. My stomach tightened. I restarted the phone, toggled airplane mode, checked storage. Nothing. The call log was intact, the screenshot safe, but the voice was gone. "Well, that's cute," I muttered. Calm, clipped, the way I used to talk to interns who panicked over missing vitals. I called Ellis. "Voice memo's corrupted," I said into voicemail. "Don't text. I'll bring the device." I slid the phone into its bag, sealed it tight. "You can erase a file," I whispered, "but you can't erase a mother's memory." When I reached plot K17, my knees locked. The stone was beige, not the gray slate we'd chosen. The name etched into it wasn't my daughter's. Same plot number, different name, newer carving. The dates didn't match my records either. The turf looked patched, darker than the rest. I crouched, ignoring the protest of my joints, and found a sliver of metal half buried near the base. It read K17 with the faint outline of E scratched beneath. Proof in dirt. I took a photo beside a coin for scale, logged every word into my notebook, and said softly, "You can change a name, but not soil." A golf cart whined up behind me. The groundskeeper, gray-stubbled and sweating through his cap, leaned out. "Ma'am, you need help?" he asked, polite but wary. "Just checking records," I replied. "Not here to stir trouble." His eyes darted to my measuring tape. We exchanged small talk, weather, upkeep, storms, before I asked about maintenance logs. "Records are with the office," he said, scratching his neck. "Some got digitized last year by an outside vendor." I nodded, repeating it in my head. "Outside vendor, year of digitization." "Who approved that?" I asked. "Supervisor did. We fixed a few markers out here last summer." His voice faltered. I thanked him, took his name, and said gently, "You keep the place tidy. That matters." The office smelled of lemon cleaner and toner. Behind the desk, a young clerk typed fast. "Plot number?" she asked. "K17, I said, sliding my folder across. She printed a sheet, different name listed. Updated last year. "May I see the original ledger?" I asked. "Storage room's locked," she said. "Key holders at lunch." I smiled, not warmly. "Then I'll wait." When the manager arrived, Her eyes shifted as she mentioned the same digitization done by Serenity Heritage Services. That word rang through my skull like a bell. Serenity again? In my car. I turned the AC high, spreading my papers across the seat. Every photo, every name. I recorded a memo. Plot K-17. Name replaced. Stone new. Record updated by Serenity. Request filed 158P. I texted Ellis. Vendor link confirmed. Need old ledger. I called the funeral home for the original marker order. When the clerk read the vendor code, it didn't match. They buried a lie. I said to no one. Back inside, the key holder finally brought out a cloth-bound ledger from the 90s. I found the line. Ia Delane. Struck through in pencil. Another name written above. No photos. The manager warned. Then I'll photograph the policy beside it. I replied. She hesitated, then allowed it. When I left, a Serenity email printout peeked from the stack, accidentally included. I didn't react. I simply slid it into my folder. As the day leaned toward evening, I knelt by the stone again and pressed my palm against the dirt. The air had cooled. Cicadas starting their chorus. They took her name, I said quietly. Whoever signed that order's going to hand it back. By the time I reached Serenity Health Systems, the morning sun had already burned the color out of the parking deck. I parked on level 3, took a photo of the sign, the elevator panel, and the lobby directory. Habit more than paranoia. Paper remembers when people choose not to. The front desk greeter wore a powder blue blazer and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "How can we help you today?" she asked. "I'm here to review archival interment and migration records under Serenity Heritage Services," I said, voice calm but firm. When she told me no such records were public, I asked for a policy in writing and wrote her name down. "We don't give out written copies," she replied. "Then note the refusal," I said, drawing a neat checkmark on my pad. Above her shoulder, a TV played a promo. Serenity, where compassion meets precision. I wrote that down too. I refused the offer of a private room. I wanted witnesses and cameras. You stay visible when the truth starts to itch. I texted Ellis. Inside, no scene, just questions. The corridor off the chapel smelled faintly of lemon polish and tension. That's where he appeared. Tall, in-pressed suit, badge gleaming, Arthur Keene, legal affairs. "Ms. Delane," he said smoothly. "May we speak privately?" I stayed where I was, feet square on the tile, the stance I used in the ICU when things went wrong. "You're speaking to me now," I said. His smile flickered. "I understand you've been asking about records from a very old case. Digging that up could cause you distress." "I'm already distressed," I said. "What I'm doing is documenting." He leaned closer, voice low. "Let sleeping dogs lie." I met his eyes. My child was not a dog, and she was never sleeping. His jaw tightened. He handed me a grief counselor's card like a peace offering. I slid it back. "I didn't ask for comfort. I asked for records." He hesitated, then said, "Some things are better forgotten." "Then you should have forgotten to threaten me," I said, writing down his full name, title, and the time. I held my phone at waist level, started a time-stamped voice note. "Meeting with Arthur Keene, Legal Affairs, 10:06 a.m. Chapel Corridor." I repeated his own words slowly so the record caught them. "You'll regret it," and his shoulders stiffened. I asked for a request ID number. He told me it wasn't relevant. "Everything's relevant when a file goes missing," I said. Security hovered nearby, pretending to check the elevator. I smiled and waved like I was greeting my pastor on Sunday morning. "Thank you for your time," I said. "You'll be hearing from me. Certified mail." By afternoon, I was back in my Augusta kitchen, the counter covered in folders and receipts. I sorted them by date, wrote Serenity Visit on the top tab, and slid the visitor log slip underneath. The porch camera blinked green. Steady. I emailed Ellis a short note. Keen warned me off. Need contract trail and cemetery vendor link. Then I went to the bedroom and pulled down the old cedar box. Inside were wedding gloves, Aurora's baby bracelet, church bulletins, and one envelope addressed to me. The handwriting stopped my breath. It was my daughter's. No stamp, no postmark. The page inside was dated a week before she died. Mama, don't trust what they tell you. If anything happens, ask for the vendor files, not the hospital ones. My knees gave out before my voice did. I sat on the bed, reading the lines twice, tracing her signature with my thumb. Grief didn't come loud, it came clean, like glass. I photographed the letter front and back, signed a note, chain of custody established. Then I read the rest aloud, to the quiet. Vendor changed last minute. Someone keeps asking about my ID scan. If you can't reach me, call Ellis. I compared that name, Serenity Heritage Services, with my printout from the cemetery, same company. My girl was trying to warn me 25 years ago. I prepared 3 certified letters, one to the hospital, one to Serenity, one to the cemetery, each stamped, sealed, and labeled for delivery confirmation. Then I called Jonas Kettering. Jonas, I said evenly. How long would a DNA comparison take if I had a name? He paused, then said, Depends who you're matching. Someone who shouldn't be gone, I said. I laid my palm over Aurora's signature and whispered, I hear you, baby. Tomorrow I wouldn't be asking for comfort. I'd be asking for proof. Jonas met me at the door of the county lab. White coat wrinkled, eyes careful. Morning, Mr. Delane, he said. I held up the manila folder, my daughter's letter sealed inside its archival sleeve. Morning, Jonas. I'm not here to guess. I'm here to match. He nodded, voice even. Then we'll do it by the book. I handed over my ID, initialed every page of the consent form, and asked for copies. Stamped and dated, please. He smiled faintly. Still a nurse, huh? Once you learn chain of custody, you don't unlearn it. A technician guided my cheek swab, sealed it, signed off. I placed 2 hair strands, kept from Aurora's baby book all these years, on the counter, still in their notarized envelope. Jonas checked the seals like a man who respects precision. I'll label this E. Osties only. I said, no full name, no leaks. He generated a barcode, and I copied it into my notebook. Before I left, I said softly, call me first, not later. You'll hear from me directly, he promised. The hours crawled until my phone finally rang. Jonas's tone was clipped, but calm. Marjorie, can you come back to the lab? When I walked in, he met me in the hallway, papers in hand. We have a near-positive familial match. He led me into a consult room, small and cold. The printout slid toward me, 98% likelihood linking my DNA to a living profile in the state care system. Name on file, Eden Vale. My pulse skipped. So my child's DNA didn't die, I said. Jonas hesitated. Statistically, this is your daughter. The air folded in on itself. I asked for the source database, the date of entry, any guardianship links. He circled a line. Profile updated 3 months ago. I took the paper. Steady hands. Steady voice. Print me a hard copy. Email the encrypted file now. He did. I checked the metadata timestamps myself. I'll cry when she's warm within reach, I said, more to the wall than to him. The sunlight outside stabbed my eyes. I walked toward my car when a silver sedan caught my attention. Engine running. Tinted windows. I jotted the partial plate. Raised my phone like I was checking messages. and took a photo that captured the glare. When I lifted the phone again, the car eased away. A Serenity sticker shimmered on its rear window. I called Ellis and left a calm message. "We've got a match. Eden Vale. Check for aliases. Guardianship papers. I'll send the file." His reply came fast. "Send the PDF. I'll dig." I spoke to the empty lot. "They're watching the hallway. Now the sun." Needing somewhere public, I went downtown to Maple and Lace Cafe, the kind of place with chipped china and gospel music humming under the espresso machine. I chose a table near the window, back to the wall. Purse strap looped around my ankle. A woman entered, early 40s, hair pulled back neat, voice soft when she greeted the barista. "Black coffee, 2 sugars." The same order Aurora used to whisper on Sundays. I stared at her reflection in the window, same chin, same quiet grace. She laughed into her phone. "Tell him I made the drop. They won't know it was me." My stomach nodded. I texted Ellis, Zinnia Crow. Checker, Serenity Connections. His reply came quick. "On it. Keep distance." As she passed my table, I said low, "Baby?" Her steps faltered just a beat. She turned. Polite smile. "Ma'am, you okay?" "Yes," I said softly. "Thought you were someone I loved." Tamur, her eyes flickered. Hand trembled. Then she walked out briskly, through the glass. I saw that same silver sedan blink twice before driving off. I noted her scar, her height, the tattoo near her collarbone shaped like a veil. I paid in cash, kept my receipt, and exited through the side door, in my car. I unfolded the lab report, 98%. The name Eden Vale burned on the page like a new birth certificate written in someone else's hand. I recorded one final note for Ellis. If she's mine, they renamed her and rewrote the ending. Tomorrow. I wouldn't be asking questions. I'd be serving subpoenas. Ellis arrived just after sunrise with a paper cup and a flash drive labeled in his square handwriting. "Morning, Miss Marjorie. I brought jet fuel." I smiled. Pour me honesty. We sat at my kitchen table under the hum of the old ceiling fan. The folder tree opened like a confession. Project Serenity, vendor migration, cemetery contracts. Each file was another ghost. Purchase orders, redacted invoices, data transfer logs. Ellis scrolled. I read aloud the phrases that mattered. "Temporary identity reconciliation," I said, circling the words. "That's not hospital work. That's moving names like furniture." He nodded grimly. "Looks like off-books cleanup. We printed the change orders, stapled, and marked them with time and date." "No leaks," I told him. "We share only what they can't deny." He answered, "You've got sharper instincts than most lawyers." By mid-morning, I called Clara Hoyt, the neighbor who'd stood by me at the funeral 25 years ago. "Clara, you once said something didn't look right at the service. I'm coming by?" She sighed. "Then I'll put on some tea." I packed 2 copies of the documents, one sealed, one for review, and drove through the back roads where the pines lean close enough to whisper, "In 2, out 4, I told myself, the same rhythm I used to steady patience. I texted Ellis my route and shared my location. "If I stop too long, call me," I added. He replied with a thumbs-up emoji, modern shorthand for care. Clara's porch sagged like an old hymn. Inside, she pointed to a shoebox of photos. "I kept these for you," she said. I flipped through the stack. There was the casket, the flowers, the closed lid. "You told me once there was something off," I said. She nodded slowly. Her scar, Marjorie. Aurora's was on the left. The one they buried had it on the right. My throat tightened. "Did you tell anyone?" "A nurse," she whispered. but they said grief makes tricks. I didn't want to make it worse. I placed the photo beside the casket receipt. The serial numbers didn't match. You didn't remember wrong. Clara, I said softly. They corrected you into silence. She cried quietly while I photographed each picture and had her initial the back of everyone. When she signed the statement I'd drafted, her hands shook, but her signature held. Then her breath hitched. "Marge," she gasped, clutching the doorframe. The teacup shattered on the rug. My training took over. I caught her before she fell, eased her to the floor, checked her pulse. "Clara, stay with me." I called 911, gave the dispatcher her age, symptoms, and time. When her pulse faded, I began compressions until the paramedics arrived. They took her statement packet with my note attached. As the ambulance pulled away, I saw it again. The silver sedan, engine idling at the corner. Same Serenity sticker glinting in the sun. Back home, I opened my laptop and posted redacted pages, procurement clauses, identity reconciliation, and the vendor chain. Within minutes, my post was flagged for medical misinformation. I appealed, citing public procurement law. A burner account appeared. Grieving mother chasing ghosts. I pinned my reply, "Paper doesn't grieve. It just dates the truth." I forwarded everything to a local reporter and mailed copies certified to Serenity and the cemetery. Ellis's email arrived just before sunset. Found the link. Serenity authorized retroactive corrections. His warning followed. They'll push back. Keep hard copies. I printed, labeled, sealed each folder in plastic, and tucked them in my freezer. "Cold keeps more than food," I muttered. Through my porch camera, I saw the sedan pass twice. A voicemail from the hospital followed. "We are unable to fulfill your request." No case number again. I pressed save, not delete. I laid Clara's signed statement beside my daughter's letter and said quietly, "They won't erase either of you." I smoothed the paper, heart steady now. Tomorrow. They wouldn't hide behind a logo. Tomorrow. They'd answer under oath. I arrived at the courthouse before the doors opened. Black suit pressed. Flats for standing long hours. My purse held everything that mattered. Certified receipts, Clara's signed statement, the DNA report, and copies of the cemetery ledger. The marble floor gleamed like a mirror, reflecting faces too polished to be innocent. Judge Leon Whitaker presided, his glasses sliding low whenever he wanted a straight answer. Across the aisle sat Dr. Isolde Crane, calm posture, tapping a pen clip against her folder. Ellis sat 2 rows behind me, silent backup, legal pad open, pen ready. We'd agreed. No emotion louder than fact. The bailiff called the case. My petition title sounded strange in the air. Emergency Motion to Preserve and Produce Records, Serenity Heritage Services and Affiliates. I whispered to myself. Speak plain. Marjorie. Jurors are neighbors. When the judge nodded for me to proceed, I rose. Your Honor, I'll keep this simple. I listed the exhibits one by one. Call log at 2:47 MDMs. The Serenity Migration Memo. Clara's notarized statement. People can misremember, I said evenly. Paper doesn't... I asked for a temporary restraining order to stop Serenity from destroying files and requested a court-appointed custodian to seize their servers. This isn't grief in public. Your Honor, it's correction in public. I caught Ellis's nod and steadied my voice against the weight in my chest. Defense counsel rose slick and smiling. This motion is stale, barred by time, I countered. Fraud hides in shadows, not on a clock. The law pauses for deceit. He claimed my call log could have been spoofed, then let the carrier confirm it under oath. I replied. When he called Clara's memory unreliable, I lifted her photos, time-stamped and signed. She remembered too well. They just called her crazy. He muttered something about Project Serenity being a compassionate cleanup. I read the phrase straight from the clause, temporary identity reconciliation, and let the silence drag until even the judge leaned forward. His pen stopped tapping. "Counsel," he said, "why does your client's ledger show the original name struck through?" No answer. Jonas Kettering was next. He explained the DNA chain of custody. My swab, Aurora's baby hair envelope, barcode logs. His tone stayed clinical, clean as bleach. A 98% familial match, he said. Connected to a living profile under the name Eden Vale. Defense tried to sow doubt. Data contamination, database confusion. Jonas didn't flinch. "You can't contaminate time-stamped barcodes, sir. This isn't a ghost. It's a profile." The courtroom murmured. I kept my eyes on the judge, not the crowd. "Preserve those records," the judge ordered. "All of them." My pulse steadied, hope tempered by purpose. Then Ellis slipped me a note. "Check the drive." I asked permission to introduce Exhibit D, an audio file from Serenity's internal hotline. "Brief, Your Honor," I said. Static filled the speakers, then a woman's voice. Ophelia Brandt, a nurse I'd never met. "Keep her file under Project Serenity. Don't ping the state database. They think she's deceased. Don't fix that." The gallery froze. Defense jumped up, objecting. "Foundation. Time-stamped, hashed, authenticated." I answered. Judge Whitaker waved them down. The voice continued. Keene said no emails, only phone. I turned slightly toward the back. Arthur Keene's jaw clenched, color draining from his face. "I move," I said calmly, "to compel testimony and preserve all hotline recordings." The judge nodded, pen moving fast. Motion granted. By afternoon, the sheriff carried the signed orders down the aisle. Defense asked for a delay. "Denied," the judge said. "Any destruction of evidence will be treated as contempt." The gavel cracked, once, like a closing door. Outside, the press swarmed. "Are you suing Serenity?" Someone shouted. I said one sentence. "I'm not hunting reputations. I'm retrieving a daughter." Back in my car, I rested my forehead on the steering wheel and whispered, "We're coming. Baby. Yisowelar." The air smelled like rain and clean endings. The court had given me a key. Now I just had to find the right door. I pulled into St. Haven just before noon. Courthouse order tucked in my folder. My heartbeat steady from counting. In 2, out 4. The front desk clerk tried a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Visitors need guardian approval," she recited. I laid Judge Whitaker's signed order on the counter, pointed to paragraph 3. "Ma'am, this isn't a surprise visit. It's a court-compliant one." Her lips tightened, but she paged the administrator. While I waited, I photographed the lobby clock and texted Ellis. "On site, 11:06, I noted the shift board, names, meds list, color bands for fall risk. Paper first, feelings later. The administrator arrived, tidy suit, tone rehearsed. "We must protect medical privacy," I replied. "This order gives access to the chart face sheet and guardian chain." We traced the files together. 3 guardianships over 25 years. 1 sealed addendum 3 months ago, the same time the Eden Vale record was updated. The last signature belonged to Arthur Keene. "So Legal Affairs knows my child on paper, but not by name," I said. Silence held. Finally, she sighed. "You can meet her. Supervised, family room only." I signed their behavioral agreement. Another hoop jumped, and she handed me a visitor badge. When Eden entered, the air shifted. She was slender, eyes clear but watchful, a small scar tracing the same spot Aurora had scraped, falling from her tricycle. I kept my voice low. "Hi, I'm Marjorie. May I sit?" She nodded once. I spoke of ordinary things, church music, peach cobbler, summer Sundays. At Peach, her throat moved. She whispered, "Sundays." A radio hummed old Motown. She matched the pitch for 2 soft bars, just as Aurora used to. I slid a laminated photo across the table, baby bracelet beside a cedar ribbon. Eden brushed the plastic edge, then looked straight at me. "Does your head hurt when you try to remember phone calls?" I asked. She pressed her temple, nodding once. The door opened for vitals. The nurse, Ophelia Brandt, rolled in the cart. I knew that voice from the tape. She took readings, murmured about sleep, then closed the binder a little too fast, leaving a yellow post-it peeking out. When she wheeled away, I caught it. Project Serenity, intake flags, identity recon. Resignation pending file never processed, HR room B. I tucked it beneath my visit log and asked the administrator, casual, "Is HR open today?" Her shoulders stiffened. "Visitors can't access that area." Message received. I scheduled another supervised visit before leaving. Outside, the silver sedan waited 2 rows down. I photographed its plate and the Serenity sticker, then called non-emergency dispatch to log the sighting. The car pulled off slowly, signal lights blinking twice. I texted Ellis both photos. His reply came quick. "HR room B, get me the layout," I whispered. "We're closer, baby." That afternoon, I drove to the church hall where the Public Records Board met. I pinned copies of the cemetery ledger, the procurement clause, the TRO header. No rumors, just dates and signatures. I told a reporter. A trustee recognized Serenity from old cemetery jobs. He fetched a minutes book showing prior complaints of marker swaps. We photographed every page. The board chair signed a release. The truth finally had daylight. Minutes later, Ellis texted again. Ophelia's resignation filed 3 months ago, never processed. Payroll still active. I said aloud, "People don't forget to quit. Systems forget to let them." I drafted a note for the judge to protect her if she testified. I returned for my second visit near dusk. Eden tapped the fringe of a choir scarf I brought, marking silent rhythm. I hummed 2 notes. She found the third. Small, steady grace. She wrote 1 word in the journal I offered. Windows. I promised next time we'd sit by one. When I left, the sky burned gold. News pinged my phone. Dr. Crane on leave. Arthur Keene issuing denials dressed as compassion. I forwarded both to the court and refilled my pill organizer. Outside St. Haven, I pressed my palm to the glass where my daughter sat beyond it. "Mama's here," I whispered. Paper carried me. Love will carry you. The morning air at Riverside Cemetery was cold enough to sting. I stood at the edge of plot K-17, TRO order sealed in plastic, reading the coordinates aloud. "No mistakes by inches," I told the foreman. The sheriff's deputy logged every step, filming chain of custody as if it were gospel. The backhoe lifted soil until the smell of wet cedar filled the air. Then we finished by hand. The casket sticker didn't match the invoice, exactly what Clara had sworn. I took the photo, time-stamped it, handed the deputy a copy, and whispered, "Lord, put the truth where folks can reach it." When the lid lifted, no crying, no wailing, just respect. The body bag sealed, tagged, and we followed the van to the lab. Quiet as church after benediction. Jonas met me inside the forensic suite, clipboard in hand. "We've compared dental records," he said softly. "Not a match." He pointed to the wrist x-ray. "Fracture healed wrong. Doesn't line up with Aurora's childhood break." My mouth went dry. "Then who's here?" He flipped a page. "Christopher Hayes, 19, Reported missing the year Aurora disappeared. I pressed a palm to the counter, grounding myself. Date of death? 3 weeks before the burial. I asked for the morgue ledger and signed an affidavit correcting the certificate. Aurora is not in K-17, I texted Ellis. His reply came fast. Then make them say it out loud. At St. Haven, the administrator tried stalling. I slid the lab packet beneath the glass. Her eyes widened at the header. By court order, I said. Update resident Eden Vale. Legal alias Aurora Delane pending confirmation. I asked for music-based therapy, not interrogation. She nodded, shaky. Ophelia passed in the hall, eyes bright. Thank you for showing up today, I told her. She smiled just once before disappearing into the ward. By afternoon, the courthouse steps were lined with cameras. Judge Whitaker had granted me 3 minutes. I held the certified report high. A boy named Christopher Hayes was buried under my daughter's stone. We don't burn systems down, we turn the lights on. Reporters shouted questions. I stayed plain. The truth has a legal name now. The crowd went still. Ellis handed me a folder. Grand jury indictments unsealed. Dr. Isolde Crane charged with fraud and tampering. Arthur Keene for obstruction. Serenity Heritage. Services for reckless identity handling. I read one clause aloud. Temporary identity reconciliation used to suppress known identities. The words hung heavier than any verdict. Deputies stepped forward in silence. Handcuffs clicked. No celebration, just consequence. Ophelia's resignation was finally processed with whistleblower protection. The Attorney General announced a restoration fund for victims. First payout to locate Christopher's family. Justice written, not shouted. Later, at St. Haven's family room, the music therapist strummed, "His eye is on the sparrow." Eden, my Aurora, watched my lips and joined the next phrase. Her laugh, small but sure, broke something open in me. I placed a cedar chip on the table. "Living wood for living names," I said. She rubbed it gently, eyes steady. We filed the paperwork the next day. Name restoration, trust fund, back pay benefits. My church friends organized a memorial for Christopher. Candles, photos, correct spelling on his stone. I mailed thank you notes, packed legal files into a single labeled box, and finally exhaled. That evening, I sat in the sanctuary, light low, cedar chip in my palm. "Aurora," I whispered, "and Eden, both yours." My phone buzzed, unknown number. I let it ring. Some ghosts don't need answering. I looked toward the glowing altar and spoke as if to every weary parent who'd ever been dismissed. "Write it down. Paper will carry you when your knees can't." I left the church light burning, our family's sign that someone's home. Tonight, that someone was my daughter, alive, protected, known. Tomorrow, there would be peaches to bake and a choir to teach. The next morning, a letter waited on my porch. No return address, just my name written in Aurora's old cursive. Inside was a single photo, a young woman standing near the river, eyes familiar, smile uncertain. On the back, in faint pencil, it read, "You stopped too soon, Mama."